This is Beatwalla, serving up the stories behind the beats and taking you straight to the soul of exceptional artists, as we sit down every week to unravel what fuels their artistic expression and creation, here on Beatwalla, with me, Jo Yule.
I'm a firm believer that the best remixes are things that songs that the remixer has a vision for. There's no amount of money or begging that will get you a great remix. You know, they really have to have an idea what they're going to do with it.
Welcome back to Beatwalla with me, Jo Yule. And today's guest has been making music for close to 30 years. And it's music that's always stood out in terms of the eclecticism from record to record. As she's morphed from one half of being Moloko to striking out as a solo artist, her sound has changed dramatically, especially with her latest and sixth studio album, Hit Parade, that came out in September last year. With a brand new remix package that has also just dropped, which is partly what we're going to be chatting about today here in Ibiza, where she just wrapped up a gig on top of the World UNESCO Heritage Site that is Dult Villa on the last night of the International Music Summit. Roisin Murphy, welcome to Beatwalla.
Hi, thank you.
I mean, how did it feel to be performing live on top of a sort of, tower of ancient walls that pirates fought on and some sort of bloody battles went down?
God, I should have thought about that one. It felt like a hometown gig, because there was lots of friends there, lots of people I know on the island that came. Bit of a hectic struggle to get everybody on the guest list, as is usual at a hometown kind of gig. But now I have another hometown gig, I have so many. I have Dublin, Manchester, Sheffield, London, now Ibiza. In some ways, New York feels like that. In some ways, Berlin feels like that. When it's just like mad, you put me on the guest list, will you put me on the guest list sort of thing, and you're afraid you haven't put everybody on and all that kind of stress. But it's really nice as well. So it felt like that.
You know exactly what you're buying. Don't call me innocent boy with me. Don't call me innocent boy.
I mean, you're obviously on a massive tour. We're in the midst of a large one at the moment.
Yeah.
And what is it that, keeps you still playing live almost 3 decades in? Is it just the fact that you get to wear such spectacular outfits, or?
It's definitely not that. No, I mean, it's a privilege to play live to people. It's amazing. It's like, it's the thing that makes me still be here 30 years later. I think it's so important. I mean, I could be making records all alike, really, but if I can't kind of bring it to a live stage, then it doesn't put me on a certain level with other artists. That sort of means that I have a long career, and there's a meaningful career, I think, and it's very, very important.
I mean, Eddie Stevens is your musical director, and he's been with you, right from the very, very beginning.
Yes.
And he's kind of been the linchpin, of the outfit of your band, no matter what the setup. I mean, how has that relationship changed over time? I mean, obviously he's had an influence on that sort of 30-year span as well.
God, it hasn't changed much, actually. It's still really daft and like 2 teenagers. He came in, to make records like Moloko were making, especially, no, not just especially, but all the way through. records that had kind of no limits in terms of what we would do in the studio, and then to make them live was complicated, was awkward, I should say. And in the beginning, we had a whole story where, you know, we started and we didn't think we were going to do live stuff at all, and then we did, and we were still living in Sheffield, and we got like some local guys to come in and pad out the stuff live, and they weren't like really able to do what was on the record. And it was cool what we did originally. It was like a dub punk version of the album, but ultimately that doesn't serve you as an artist if you're not really bringing the records to life, representing the records live. Even if it's good, it's not got longevity. That, you know, you need to be able to have a good live thing that represents the records that you're making as well. You know, doesn't have to be exactly like the record, but it needs to have the spirit of the record. And so then we changed, and we went to sort of more like professional guys from London, you know, real session players. And then that lost a load of soul, and it just became very ploddy, and it didn't work out well either. So we went through a couple of sort of iterations of the live thing before we met Eddie. I think on the second album, he more or less came in and revolutionised everything, really. And the main thing he did was make it fun. Make us realise how important it was to get the pre-production right and the rehearsals and everything done up front. And then once you were on tour and you felt you'd done all the back end of the work and things were running well, you could have lots and lots of fun. And it's stupid, but it seems silly, but it's very important to have fun on tour. In Ibiza the other night, which is a visual show on screens. And, you know, I play like remixes and things like that, so it's more pumpy, and it's for a different kind of environment. It's for a club environment or a warehouse environment, and it's also to showcase that side of my musical repertoire, which you know is often remixes and things. And that if I brought the whole band to that environment, shoved between DJs, number one, technically it probably wouldn't be set up correctly, and we'd have nightmare technically. But really, more fundamentally, it wouldn't suit that environment. It would be difficult to wedge it between DJs and stuff like that. So I have this other kind of show. It's nothing to do with Eddie. Eddie wants nothing whatsoever to do with it. He wants to do this thing that we do, you know, but it is true to say that this thing that we do, I mean, with him, is probably the most important thing that I do in terms of the greater longevity of my career and what it all actually means something, you know.
So that's the key then, like being
key,
live keeps you feeling alive, like when you're on stage, because you never know when something could go wrong, or there's
sort
that
of relevance, not the right word, but just kind of like that's the reason why I'm an artist of a certain level, I think, you know, because I can do that and I bring that, or at least in my own heart. Maybe that's all nonsense to everybody else, but to me it feels like that's what's very, very important to achieve, and very difficult to achieve, and very expensive. And you're all in, you know, you're all in when you try to achieve that. You put everything on the line.
So what do you think about shows where, you know, a lot of that stuff is pre-produced then? Like, have you seen things where you just
I've
think...
seen great things like that.
Yeah.
Brilliant things like that. Absolutely brilliant things. But I wouldn't like to give up that side of what I do. I wouldn't. And the feeling is just like amazing when it's all going at the same time and it's all really elevating and it is actually on a level that's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, and there's all these people connected in a flow state on the stage. I wouldn't give it up for the world, you know, which is why I do pay a fortune for it and I do put everything on the line for it.
I mean, be prepared or prepared to fail though when you're doing the kind of the live set, because as we saw at Coachella with like Grimes, for example, I mean, that felt deeply uncomfortable to witness that moment.
Yeah, that wasn't even a live set. So.
Exactly. Someone else allegedly prepared it for her, and it still went disastrously
if you go
wrong.
wrong with something like that, I mean, that must feel like the whole universe has just opened up and you're falling down in a tunnel to nothingness. The black hole. Yeah, that must be pretty bad.
Have you ever had a mild moment like that?
Yeah, I've had a few. Yeah, they tend to be more on that side of things than with the band. You're all up there alone. You know, you can't blame it on anyone else.
Exactly. But how do you come back from that when you've had a mild black hole moment?
You just have to. You just have to.
All part and parcel of.
I'm not one to blame the audience for anything.
No.
I'm always very. I feel I owe if there's some people standing there, it's big or small, then I owe a lot to them.
I mean, is that how you feel about DJ Coase? Because obviously, you know, he made or produced, you know, the last album, Hit Parade, which I absolutely love, and you know, he's just epic, and I'm a big fan of his anyway. So I was like really excited to see that you guys were kind of working together, and I think, you know, that album took what 6 years to make. It was no short haul, and obviously you met in quite random circumstances in a bar.
No, we worked together before we met. You know, he asked me to contribute for his album, which was one of them albums, you know, that DJ producers make, which lots of different singers on and so on. And I ended up doing 2 tracks for that album, Knock Knock, and I hadn't met him still. And then I met him actually here in Ibiza. I went to go see him play at Pacha, and he just started to send me tracks with no real plan of what we were actually going to do or how long it was going to take, and it was very, very much like a hobby for many years. And that was fine with me, because I was already putting out stuff to do with Róisín Machine, building up towards Róisín Machine. I had no point in my schedule where I was like, right, Stefan, where's the record? You know, I didn't need it. I just let it happen the way it was supposed to happen. And for the most part, we worked remotely, excuse me, from each other, which is kind of the way he wanted it. And he spelled it out to me in the beginning by saying, you'll have to learn Ableton, the Ableton that I use, so that we can share files really easily. And I was a bit resistant, because I'd always sort of gone into studios and worked with people. Or I would hire a little studio and use an engineer to record vocals properly. But he really talked me into it. He was like, you know, we can get a different kind of intimacy. You can be doing the hoovering, and something can come to you, and you can go and open the laptop and just put it down, and you know, and it's true, you know, that there is this, from my vocal point of view on the record, an element of immediacy, you know, of like you're being talked to into your ear directly, kind of. I've just had an idea while I'm doing the dusting, and and then I go down and put it down, you know. And oftentimes he would use the fact that I was sending him the whole session. He could use things that weren't fully formed sometimes as well. He could use that moment when I was just forming the melody and the lyric. It was just all coming together. And there's sometimes a real magic to that that's not there once you've really perfected it and you've worked it out and so on. So he's very much got an incredible ear for things like that, you know. So for the non-straightforward, for the non-obvious, for the counterintuitive, if you like, for because the ears are just bang wide open with him, and it's like, how does that sound? Does that sound amazing or not? Okay, it might not be finished, it might not be correct, classically speaking, but how does it actually sound? That's the way he sort of works out what he's going to put into an arrangement. And I was completely open-minded to it and in no way in any rush. Every single time I think of you, only free bird, flying high, who decide to ride the Venus, break the physical law of time. I'm your favorite baby, this could sustain me. You should play a love song, you can play a love song. Why? Oh baby, take your hands off hater, off my baby's fatal. When it comes to this song, you can't play it too long. Oh, oh, don't meet my maker. Wait, I'm good and ready, won't stay too long. No, can't play it too long. No, no, can't play it all. It made me very prolific, having to do stuff with Róisín Machine, do stuff with this, do stuff with other things, other collaborations I was doing, all at the same time, all running concurrent with each other. The feeling of that all of a sudden, compared to other ways that I'd worked through the years, which would be, I'm doing this album now, for a year, and then I am touring it, and then I am doing another album. This time, in the last few years, it's been things are concurrently going on different sessions across my laptop, and it just makes me prolific in a way that I could have only dreamed of, to be honest.
Does that come from, obviously not being a dinosaur though? Because trying to learn Ableton, you just turned 50.
It's easy, Ableton. Just to do what I do is really easy. Yeah. It's not complicated. It's not that much further away from what I've done in the past, which is 4-track tape cassette thing. It's a way of writing a song that's simple and easy. But what you do get is you get vocals that you can actually use, and so you can be writing, and in the middle of writing, in the middle of having an inspiration, you're actually recording as well. And that is, I think, something that he's captured on this record. So it might not be slick in places, but it's inspired or elevated that way,
So what setup have you got then apart from Ableton at home to be able to just lay that out whenever the fancy takes you?
A really nice mic.
Which is?
A sound card. The mic's the Sony.
Okay.
A sound card, don't know what it's called. That's it.
But if that's the first time you've worked sort of remotely with someone, how has that relationship compared to Matthew Herbert or Andy Cater or any other people that have produced records in the past?
Well, it was a longer sort of working relationship, but it was much more sporadic. So I could maybe not hear from him for 2 months, 3 months, and then suddenly you would get a pile of new tracks to write to. Or I would send him a track that I'd written on, and I could either hear from him the day after with a updated version, or have to wait months for him to get around to doing it. It's just completely different to, say, Matthew Herbert, which again was very different to what I'd come out of with Moloko, where we had our own studio in Sheffield. And we'd go in and just spend hours and hours in there. Sometimes I'd fall asleep for hours and Mark would be twiddling away. And then suddenly I went to Matthew Herbert, and it was like, you come in here at 11 o'clock and we leave before 6. Weekdays, that's it. I have my life, And so it wasn't endless idling hours. And it was very strict in that way. And I would go home and work on 4-track those days with the tracks that we'd made that day, and I'd be ready for him the next day. I felt I much had to stand to attention for Matthew. But he was perfect person to work with after Moloko. He was so different, but he was very paternal in a way, you know, and he knew I was in a bit of I was a bit of a mess when I started to make the record. Totally paranoid that I wasn't going to be able to do it. I'd never tried to make an album with anybody but my boyfriend before. And I was in a lonesome time in my life, and he was so reassuring. And then he was also, the way that he works is he samples everything. Everything's a sample. There's no, he has a dogma where there's no pre-programmed sounds, you know, synth sounds on his records. He creates synth sounds from scratch. So things that sound like bass synths and things like that, they've been created from, in my case, objects that I brought in from home, like hairspray cans and
I heard about this.
You know, whatever, cutlery, bits and bobs, makeup, you know, things to do with me in my life, and he'd get me to make sound, and then he can create a whole sort of palette of sounds from objects, and anyway, that kind of had a thing like where he just, any sound I made was fine. He could do something with everything, every sound I made. It felt like that. It felt like, you know, it felt like he loved my voice. In some ways, he's putting my voice so centrally in the mix and gifting it with so much attention sonically. Was only really matched by Co's, actually, in the whole time that I've worked on music. The two of them really put my voice right bang in the middle of everything. And it was the top priority for both of them to make that sound good. That's a lovely thing to have in a producer when you're a singer.
So did that make you feel, I mean, how did that make you feel when you listen back to that and you kind of noticed that, you know, he's kind of,
it's like looking gorgeous.
Captured your best
but
side.
you sound gorgeous, you know. It's a bit like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's a compliment, basically.
Well, it's been, you know, it's been given the best of the best in that specific way.
So how did that sort of progress then in terms of, you know, when he's making the arrangements? I mean, how much feedback is there between you when you're remote in terms of the, you know?
Plenty, yeah.
Yeah.
But in a way, probably that he's more comfortable where there is a sort of continent between me and him. You know, but yeah, just plenty. It was not without intimacy, you know, even though it was remote.
So apart from meeting him at Pacha, when else did you actually see him face to face?
Not many times.
Okay.
No, not many times. He came here as well one time, and we recorded a song called The Universe in my house here. But even then, I didn't really get to see him work. He recorded me. That was it. The track was already there. So I've never really seen him working.
Okay, interesting. So you just had some remixes done, well, specifically of that track that have just landed.
Yeah, of a few tracks. Yeah, a few different tracks.
How does that process work in terms of finding the right person to remix a track? Do you fire it out to a few people and see what comes back? Or?
No, many of them were friends anyway, people that I've already started to have a kind of relationship with, people like System Olympia and Ruf Dug, and Baba Ali, and these people are kind of, we've reached out to them anyway and started a conversation, a relationship creatively with these people already one way or another, and actually I gave everybody the whole album to choose from. I didn't say, here's the single, you've got to remix that. So I'm a firm believer that the best remixes are things that the remixer, songs that the remixer has a vision for. I mean, and I've seen that obviously with something like Sing It Back, you know, being a classic case of Boris Dlugosch coming out of nowhere to really wanting to remix that song, you know, because he had a vision. He was like, I know what I can do with that song. I also saw Stefan DJ Co's be exactly the same way. He's known quite famously as a great remixer, but you know, it was like he was turning down 10 remixes a week. He had to have a feeling that he knew what he was going to do with the thing before he started. There's no amount of money or begging that will get you a great remix. You know, they really have to have an idea what they're going to do with it.
What do you think makes a good remix?
Well, that can be anything, but as I said, the starting point usually is a remixer who wants to do it, not just for the money.
Yeah.
Not that there's any money in it anymore, but there used to be. My God, you know, when we were getting Sing It Back remixed, what we paid Todd Terry was just, you know, I remember thinking you could buy a small house in Sheffield for this.
Really?
At the time, yes. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
It was a lot at the time.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot. It would be a lot now. I mean, Jesus, for a remix. But then again, people were selling records then and 12 inches and stuff and making money out of it. So it made some sort of sense to pay people a lot of money for what you can never know when you commission a remix how good it's going to be. You can never know.
You don't get to like pay after,
You
depending
don't,
on whether you
don't.
like it or not.
No, you do the deal
annoying.
before, yeah, in most cases.
I mean, I've been having the Moodyman remix of What Not to Do.
Oh, I love that.
I've listened to it, I don't know, about 20 times already.
There's a case in point, you know, where Moodyman had an idea what he wanted to do. And so there would be no begging or paying Moodyman to do anything. He only does what he wants to do.
That's clear. We like that about him.
Yes.
He's, I've seen him walk out of interviews before and all sorts. This is like, I'd quite like to interview him, but yeah, maybe not. I think
He's a bit moody.
he's a bit too moody for me. For sure not. I think the way he added his vocal and the way they were quite smoky and sexy, and there was like a real interaction between the two of you that kind of like sounded almost like a conversation happening, which I was quite surprised. I mean, I love the original anyway, it's incredible, but
It's a very surprising remix, you know. It was like we were all, what? What has he just done? Tell me what not to do. Tell me what not to do.
You better stay. You better listen to me.
Tell me what not to do.
I'ma tell you where you go. Do your hair. Show you what you gonna wear.
With the kind of jazz dance vibes to it. Nobody was expecting that. But he has this encyclopedic understanding of both jazz and techno. Not many people have that, you know. And he's one of my favourite producers there ever was.
That's why he can get away with being so moody.
He's not really.
No, he's not.
He's quite
I
nice.
know,
He's
so
just
fast.
he protects himself and his art form like many. I mean, most of the ones I know that are brilliant are a bit kind of scary in some ways, and certainly very self-protectionist. They protect the space around their work.
What do you think like makes him so obsessive though, or have such like encyclopedic knowledge? And is that someone that you'd like to maybe work with in the future on an album? Could that be?
Yeah, it would
brewing?
work. I think it would work very well. But well, he lives and breathes it, you know, and you know he was prepared to sell records out of the back of his car, you know, and to have control. Do you see what I mean? Just like Stefan is prepared to turn down any money really to do remixes or gigs he doesn't want to do, and to give him the energy to really concentrate on the muse or his mojo, you know. And just like Eddie will never do that cheaper type of gig with me, you know. They're the type of people who dance to the beat of their own drum.
Yeah. Well, I think too many fingers and too many pies is, yeah.
The power of no is very, very important thing to learn to do if you're going to be a creative. Can't just keep saying yes to everyone.
What was the most powerful no that you've had to dish out over time?
Oh, I've had a few. It's not been such a big deal for me, you know. I've not had to say no that much. When I was going around with, I made this album very much like I make all my records in private. I don't play stuff to people. I don't play even really to my friends, demos and things. Nobody knew we were really making this record, and then until it was finished, and then I went around and I played it to a few labels, quite a few labels, and they all wanted to sign it. So I had to say several no's then. It was a nice position to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah. But I do think there's no reason for me to, in the old days, even with Moloko, we were up in Sheffield, we were in our own studio, we were far, far away from the music business. Mark Bryden was gruff, you know, and wasn't having any of it, you know, not playing it to anyone, that'll kill the magic and all that. And we used to make the records and finish them and then give the record to the label. I suppose that's my version of saying no. And I mean, I have to business-wise say no to things, say no, that's not enough money, don't take the piss and things like that quite often.
I think that's a pretty nice no to have...
Standard no. It's a standard no for anyone.
I mean, your first debut record came from a chat-up line to Mark in a nightclub. Have you ever used any other chat-up lines in the rest of your music or lyrics?
Well, yeah. Tell me what not to do. That's a pretty good one.
Amazing. Just that one, or any other ones you would care to confess?
They're fantasy chat-up lines. I haven't chatted up anyone in years and years and years, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, also a good place to be. I think, you know, you sort of said about the fact that having dyslexia was, you know, maybe an influencing factor on the way that you wrote your lyrics. I guess it's bound to be, really, in some ways they're quite different.
Yeah.
But is that something that still kind of affects the way that you put things together?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's affected the way I put things together. I think I'm quite proud that I found ways to get around it. I didn't really read very much when I was in school because of it. I only started to read books after I'd left school. And now I read a lot, and I read a lot of, you know, journalism as well. A lot of my work is influenced by things I read, journalistic stuff I read, things like Overpowered, you know, would have been an article I was reading about oxytocin, which is the hormone that floods your brain when you fall in love. So yeah, a lot of things start like that. I collect things as I read and as I'm listening and as I'm watching the world. I collect phrases, I write them down from memory. I used to make lots and lots of books with cutouts from magazines and newspapers, articles. But I don't really do that anymore. I do it in the phone now. I collect stuff in the phone and put it into notes. And that just helps as a nudge sometimes when you can't think of anything, because I very much believe in, even if you can't think of anything when you sit down, or you don't feel like you've got something in you when you sit down, if you've got some props, if you've got some stuff that you pre-prepared, sit down to it anyway and get on with it. Something will come out, and then you'll have to finesse it. So yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest influence is just being Irish and being around people who sang songs all the time when I was a child. And like everyone sang. They really did. Everyone sang. Everyone knew 25, 50 or 100 songs from start to finish, and they could sing them at the drop of a hat with no backing, you know, in the pub, having a few drinks, in me Auntie Linda's, in our house, in Pat's house, you know, on the street, in the car, especially with my father. I mean, he knew so many songs that it was like a language that I was taught as a kid without having to know I was even being taught anything. And I was fascinated with it as a kid. I was fascinated with what the adults were up to. I was that type of kid who sat quietly in the corner and watched them all, listened to them all, you know. So, and they lived a kind of poetry, and they had a kind of sense of humour that was very elevated and complicated, and at times dark and at times light, and that's definitely the influence on my lyric writing, without a doubt. That's the major influence.
Twisted and compromised, yet I'm loving you truly. Oh, there'll be jealousy, baby. How lost you way over the line. Oh yes, I have. I've never been so out of my mind. No, you can't just let this slide. I know it's only right. I must be the jealous type. Oh yeah, guess I'm the jealous kind. The jealous kind. The jealous kind. The jealous kind.
I owe everything to that town that I was brought up in, everything to those people that were around me as a kid, who were also another version of the friends that I put around me in my life. They were also open-minded and searching to collect as much culture around them as possible. And things to tell stories with, and things to make life meaningful, you know. And yeah, I mean, I was very lucky on so many counts, you know. It doesn't matter what you say, just that I was brought up there. Then that thing happened to me in Manchester, and it was Manchester then, you know, as well, that Manchester was so vibrant in that moment, musically, that all that stuff went in, you know, by osmosis. That it was just the best education in so many ways.
So how did you celebrate when you went back there on tour with Crazy P recently?
Oh,
In Manchester.
Oh, in Manchester. Well, we actually didn't do Manchester this time.
Oh, didn't you? I thought
No,
you did.
strangely, no, we didn't. But I'd be going back to play to support New Order very soon, which
Okay.
which is an amazing thing to do. It was a very full circle kind of moment for me in Manchester as well, for them to kind of put their arms around me and have me as one of their own. But you know, a lot of the kind of Mancunian music scene, they all have Irish mothers. So I'm kind of loved in a certain way, that this Irish Mancunian way that really makes sense actually culturally, I think.
How did you come to be supporting New Order?
They asked me.
They're good friends
And
of yours.
I did actually support them before for the Prince's Trust gig in London a few years ago. Yeah, but they asked me. Yeah.
And how's it been working with Crazy P on the tour?
Oh, I love them. They're just superb, amazing people, amazing artists. It was just brilliant. It was the perfect lineup, basically.
I mean, Lady Driver Moore has also got an incredible fashion sense.
She has,
And
absolutely.
I'm sure you two get along rather well on that
House
front.
on fire.
Sharing clothes?
No, not quite sharing clothes. No.
Just cannot contain me. still rumbles on.
It must be quite a big thing, though, every time you're touring to come up with all those different outfits. And
Oh, it is a bit of a big thing. Yeah, it's an absolute pain in the arse.
you do it so well, though. It's just that must be
It's
very
like
time consuming.
chaos, absolute chaos. My house is a chaos with all this stuff coming in and out. And right up until the last minute, you know, there's no calm in the middle of the storm. It's like until the day of the first show. Because we never really get to have like what you call full production rehearsals. It would just break me to do that. I don't have the resources to do it. It's very, very expensive to do. And anyway, so we do music rehearsals. And then on the day of the first day of the show, I've been spending, a month panicking, buying everything that I see that's bonkers, bananas, brilliant, whatever, that I can get my hands on. I pull it, or I'm borrowing things, or been given things, or, you know, by hook or by crook. Like, I'm collecting things. And then I bring it all together. I'd say I'll bring 7, 8, 9, 10 cases with me on the first show. And then I pull it all out. And I've got a fellow who works with me called Simon Phillips. He's not fashion at all. He's crew. Yeah, he's really crew. And was crew before he was wardrobe. And I need someone really strong and with a lot of dedication. Someone who loves me, actually, because it's hardcore. And doesn't just do it for their own ego or anything like that. He only does it for me because he loves me up and I love him up. And he's really strong and he carries all the cases and blah. And we pull it all out and I start trying it all on. And he videos it. And then later on we give the videos to Bella's over there, and she usually makes these like mad videos where you actually see the process. She cuts between all the ideas, you know. And then I've got to think about how can I get one thing off and another thing on? Which song is it going to go on? How will it work as a module? And it's usually quite chaotic for the first 2 or 3 gigs. Although the basic solid thing is there, you know. What's the beginning? What's the very first layer is there. And generally what the feeling of the flow through. I worked this out on the first day with Simon, the flow through, and then it settles down, you know, over the course of a tour, and then I get bored of it and I start all over again.
Is there any new material on the boil? Is there any kind of writing going on at the moment?
There's a baseline of stuff. There's stuff that's bubbling, but I need to take it to the next level. It's hard. I'm not going to explain it to you because obviously it takes the magic away. But yeah, I have another level to take it to.
But it's something that you're still working on while you're on tour and you're in the middle of all of that chaos?
No, I haven't been working on it, honestly.
Okay. Yeah,
No.
I was going to say,
I worked on
impressive.
it before all this, yeah. There's a base of stuff there,
Yeah.
written and kind of, it's hard, I'm not going to explain it because it's secret. But yeah, it's kind of a unique way that I've worked on that as well. It's a different type of record than anything I've done before, and it's a different method. But there's another layer that has to go onto it. But it's there essentially, soulfully it's there.
Well, good luck with the rest of the tour.
Thank you.
Very, very excited to see what comes after this one. No idea what's coming next, but yeah, a pleasure in the anticipation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
You're on
you.
Beatwalla.
Thank you.